Coming up on Early Edition at 6, in a historic first, the government grants approval for a casino set up by foreign investors to open in Korea. Spurred by an unexpected change in attitude by Japan's Prime Minister, a Korea-Japan summit is now a definite possibility. But first, the Korean government wants to talk about the wartime sexual slavery issue. The U.S. and EU impose sanctions on Russia, but Russian President Vladimir Putin doubles down, recognizing the Republic of Crimea as sovereign and independent. Stay with us for these stories and more.
당신의 유럽은 어디였나요?
Excellence in flight. Korean Air.
It is 5 a.m. in Washington, 11 in Crimea, and 6 on a Tuesday evening here in Seoul. Welcome to Early Edition at 6. I'm Moon Gon-young.
And I'm Daniel Chan. Thank you for joining us. We begin with a positive note for a change today.
Korea has opened its tightly controlled gambling market, giving approval to a $697 million investment plan by foreign investors to build the country's biggest casino town.
The casino will be the first to be owned and operated by foreign investors in Korea, and the Korean government anticipates a boost in its tourism industry. Our Park Ji-won starts us off.
The Ministry of Culture, Sports and Tourism said at a press briefing Tuesday that it has granted approval to the Indonesian-Chinese enterprise Lippo Group and U.S.-based Caesars Entertainment to open the casino, which will be for foreigners only. The casino will be located some 50 kilometers west of Seoul on Yeongjong-do Island, which is part of the Incheon Free Economic Zone and the location of Incheon International Airport. The approval is for the first phase of the consortium's plan to develop a high-end resort. Phase 1 will see construction of 2 hotels, serviced residences, and a convention center for an estimated cost of roughly $700 million, and completion is expected in 2018. The entire development is expected to cost over $2 billion and will be completed by 2023. The Lippo and Caesars consortium first submitted the proposal to develop the casino resort last year, but the proposal was rejected on the grounds that the plan did not fulfill certain credit rating qualifications. The consortium won approval for the plan after enlarging the size of the investment and submitting suitable credit rating assessments.
The approval is only valid when the joint venture successfully implements certain conditions, such as undergoing an annual audit. This decision was made after a thorough evaluation by related ministries, with the goal of boosting the nation's tourism industry.
The government expects the casino to boost employment and bring in tax revenue, as well as strengthen the competitiveness of the domestic casino industry. It will be the 17th casino in Korea, 16 of which are exclusively for foreigners. Park Ji-won, Arirang News.
When President Park Geun-hye arrives in The Hague next week for the 2014 Nuclear Security Summit, she's hoping to do so with news that Korea's National Assembly has passed legislation related to protecting nuclear materials. But the bill has been held up in Parliament for 2 years now, ever since Seoul hosted the summit due to political gridlock. Arirang News' Yoo-rian reports.
President Park Geun-hye has urged lawmakers to promptly pass a nuclear security bill ahead of her attendance at the 2014 Nuclear Security Summit in the Netherlands next week. The NSS is a biennial gathering of world leaders aimed to prevent nuclear terrorism. At a cabinet meeting Tuesday, President Park expressed regret that the National Assembly has failed to approve legislation related to protecting nuclear materials and preventing nuclear disasters in the 2 years since Seoul hosted the global conference. In the 2012 Seoul communiqué, participating nations had agreed to work toward preventing criminals and terrorists from getting their hands on nuclear materials. The bill must be passed before Korea can ratify 2 international treaties on preventing nuclear terrorism. Both the ruling and main opposition parties agree that the nuclear security legislation is important, but the bill has been held up in the National Assembly due to political wrangling over other issues of contention. The ruling Saenuri Party condemned the main opposition Democratic Party for refusing to pass the urgent bill, calling the move political warfare. It has asked that an extraordinary session of the National Assembly be convened on Thursday, but without the DP's cooperation, the bill is unlikely to pass. The DP says the Saenuri Party is to blame for the impasse because it has refused to pass bills related to the public's livelihood. Yurian, Arirang News.
We now move on to the latest on the Crimea crisis. The West continues to push for greater sanctions on Moscow over its intervention in the region, but Russian President Vladimir Putin remains defiant. Our Connie Lee reports.
Russian President Vladimir Putin has taken another step toward annexing Crimea. On Tuesday morning, he formally notified his parliament of Crimea's request to join Russia. This comes after President Putin signed a decree on Monday to recognize the Republic of Crimea as sovereign and independent. The executive order came just hours after the European Union and the U.S. imposed sanctions and asset freezes against Russian and Ukrainian officials.
We are imposing sanctions on specific individuals responsible for undermining the sovereignty, territorial integrity, and government of Ukraine.
The sanctions, which include travel bans, were in retaliation for Sunday's referendum vote in Crimea, which was deemed illegal by Western leaders. In the referendum, an overwhelming majority approved of leaving Ukraine and joining Russia. The results brought joy to Russians, not only in Crimea, but also in Moscow.
It's legal. I support Putin. I'm for reuniting Russian borders and the reunion of the Russian people.
Up to 60% of the residents in Crimea are Russian, but ethnic Tatars, who make up more than 10% of Crimea's population, are concerned about inter-ethnic conflict.
Of course we're afraid, but what can we do? Certainly not run away anywhere. No, we don't have that on our minds. I can't even think about it.
The Crimean parliament has declared all Ukrainian state property on the peninsula as property of the Crimean Republic. Meanwhile, in Ukraine, its parliament has approved the mobilization of up to 40,000 troops to counter Russian interference in the country. Connie Lee, Arirang News.
Not so fast. While the leaders of Korea and Japan appear to be inching closer toward a long-delayed bilateral summit, South Korea's foreign ministry said Japan must first show sincerity over the so-called comfort women issue. Arirang News Foreign Affairs correspondent Hwang Sung-hee has the details.
South Korea called on Japan Tuesday to show its sincerity by resolving the so-called comfort women issue, amid speculation of a possible summit between the two neighbors. This follows Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe's recent declaration that his government would honor Japan's landmark apology, dubbed the Kono Statement, issued in 1993 to the victims of its wartime sexual enslavement. But South Korean Foreign Ministry spokesperson Cho Tae-young said, words are not enough.
The sincere measures that we want to see are steps to resolve the issue. We want to see the comfort women issue being completely resolved.
Abe's recent comments had fueled speculation of a possible meeting with his South Korean counterpart at next week's nuclear security summit in The Hague. But Seoul's foreign ministry flatly denied reports that it had begun fine-tuning the details of such a meeting. Since taking office last year, President Park Geun-hye has refused to sit down with Abe, saying she would not meet with a leader who fails to acknowledge his country's historical wrongdoings. The Abe administration has been active in its efforts recently to engage in dialogue with South Korea. With U.S. President Barack Obama set to visit the two countries in April, Washington has been calling on Tokyo to mend ties with Seoul, suggesting it may have been pressure rather than sincerity that drove Abe toward his change in position. Hwang Sang-hee, Arirang News.
We saw it in the case of Crimea in its vote to break away from Ukraine, and it plays a large role in Northeast Asia as well. It's nationalism. Now, since the end of the 20th century, Northeast Asia has emerged as a central force in the globalization of the world.
But the specter of rising nationalism in the area now threatens to undo the gains that global interdependence has brought to the region and to the world. For an in-depth analysis, we are joined live in the studio by Dr. Chung Ki-woong, a senior research fellow at the Center for International Area Studies at Hankuk University of Foreign Studies.
Dr. Chung, welcome to the program.
Nice to be here.
Now, China, Japan, Korea, they are the second, third, and 12th largest economies, respectively. Now, they are significant global economic powers, and each have thrived by embracing economic globalization, if you will. And considering the era that we live in right now, why is there this rise of nationalism in this region?
As we can find in the case of Crimean crisis, well, not only in Northeast Asia, but also in other areas of the world, the nationalism expands its influence. Though we live in the globalized world, it does not guarantee the peaceful world. Some say that the world is flat, but others argue that the world is uneven. And the latter emphasize the importance of nationalism, and ironically, the more the world becomes globalized, the wider the nationalism expands its influence. When it comes to Northeast Asia, the origins of nationalism can be explained with the two viewpoints. One is Chinese-driven nationalism. Well, existing studies show that when the per capita income of a state reaches around $5,000 to $7,000, the sense of nationalism reaches the highest point, and China is at the point. And another thing is that Chinese government intentionally encourages nationalist sentiment as a way of unifying the big country and securing the stability. The opening ceremony of Beijing Olympic Games can be taken as a good example of revealing the Chinese nationalism. So when one country reveals strong nationalist sentiment, well, the surrounding countries don't have much choice. Don't have many choices. Well, and the disinclination of nationalist movement was fueled by Japanese rightward shift. Well, the rapid growth of China made Japan feel deprivation, and Japan's reaction was to go right. And when Japan and China reveal strong sentiment of nationalism, Korea has no way but to respond in the same manner. So in a sense, the important actors of Northeast Asia are situated in a kind of infinite loop, and this can be stopped only when the political leaders of three countries meet together and talk about sincerely regarding how to solve the problem and to improve the cooperation.
We all know how difficult that could be.
If only they knew the very simple fact that we have 2 ears and 1 mouth and we should listen more, as our anatomy suggests. Well, hopefully we'll have that soon. Well, territorial disputes and, of course, historical differences. Those are some of the byproducts of nationalism. What would you say is the most pressing problem rising from this issue?
Well, the problems in Northeast Asia is closely connected. And when it comes to the perceptions on history and the territorial issue and competing nationalist sentiment are interconnected. So it is not available to solve the problem separately and solely. So, well, it's not possible to point out what is more important among them.
Well, they're all big problems.
Yeah.
But is there possibly some type of a fundamental resolution to all these problems?
The only answer is cooperation. The theories of international relations, well, the so-called liberalists, well, assume the cooperation and the anarchy. And so though there is no central authority in the world politics, and also there is no arbiter in Northeast Asia, the three countries all know that they should cooperate, not for the sake of others, but for the sake of themselves. So neoliberalists proposed the creation of international regime as a way of improving the cooperation. So as I pointed out, this is the time that the three countries should meet together and talk about seriously about the future.
Now, of course, they should do that, but as of now, there are concerns that thorny relations between these three countries could derail their concerted efforts to, against North Korea's rising nuclear threats. Now, is that a legitimate concern?
I don't think so. Well, nobody can exactly expect what's going to happen in the future, but what I can say clearly is that though there is a possibility of breaking up the existing cooperation system, I don't think that it will break up easily. We should remember there is another important actor. The United States.
Of course.
Yeah, it has a lot of stakes in the region and has a close relationship with three countries. So I'm sure that the U.S. will take a role of maintaining the peace and prosperity in the region, and especially the cases of North Korean nuclear weapons. Well, the U.S. has a big stake regarding that, so they will help in some ways. And we witnessed that the U.S. pressed Japan several times when Japan went too far, and Japan didn't go against U.S. recommend in most cases. So in this vein, I can say that the existing cooperation system will not break easily in the near future.
Well, Prime Minister Shinzo Abe is pointing out that for Japan to be a complete or a normal country, they need to have their own full-fledged military rather than a self-defense force. Can this goal coexist with the peace and prosperity in Northeast Asia? Could this actually leave more of a dent in the building relationship between the neighboring countries?
Well, it depends on the situation, but what I can say clearly is that, not all Japanese citizens agree with what Prime Minister Abe is pursuing. I believe that there is a lot more Japanese citizens with common sense than those who are obsessed with the right of the shift and nationalist sentiment. But one thing worried is that more and more Japanese people began to reveal quite sympathetic feelings on what the so-called right wings deliver. So what we should do now is to make a kind of transnational alliance with the Japanese citizens who value the peace and prosperity of the humankind and who value the humanitarianism. And also at the same time, while calling the attention of international society to the policies pursued by Japanese government is also needed. So with these two different efforts, one from Japanese side and the other from the international society, we can press the Japanese government to turn their, provocative and out-of-date policies into more peaceful and cooperative ones.
Well, hopefully we will see that Japan taking those actions very soon. Dr. Chung Ki-woong, Senior Research Fellow at the Center for International Area Studies at Hankuk University of Foreign Studies. Thank you so much for speaking with us this evening. We appreciate it.
Thank you for having me on.
Not facing.
We apologize.
We're all destroyed.
Digging deeper, getting to the bottom of stories that impact your life. Talking with you on air and online, connecting you with experts on the world's most pressing issues. News and current affairs at its best with Moon Gon-young and Daniel Che on Early Edition at 6.
Proposal for talks on holding regular reunions for families separated by the Korean War. Their reason.
The ruling Saenuri Party's three main contenders vying for the chance to run in the Seoul mayoral election in June are already out on the campaign trail. The party is expected to choose a candidate before the end of next month, and it wants to wrestle the mayoral post back from Seoul's current mayor, Park Won-sun. Arirang News National Assembly correspondent Kim Young-gil has more.
The Saenuri Party has three competitive candidates vying to become the party's Seoul mayoral candidate. Tycoon-turned-politician Chung Mong-jun, former Prime Minister Kim Hwang-sik, and Supreme Council member Lee Hae-hun. Seven-term lawmaker Chung paid a visit to the Noryangjin Fish Market in Seoul early Tuesday in a bid to win the hearts of everyday citizens.
The Noryangjin Fisheries Market is a symbol of Seoul. The market provides fresh seafood to some 10 million Seoul citizens every morning. If I become the Seoul mayor, I will make Noryangjin a place where people can come and enjoy.
Cheong'an ex-Prime Minister Kim are seen as the front-runners to challenge the incumbent mayor Park Won-sun. In a joint survey conducted by Gallup Korea and the 중앙일보 newspaper, Park was ahead of Cheong by only 0.4 percentage points, well within the margin of error, with 42.5%. Kim trails Park 34.3% to 47%. 66-year-old Kim, who served as prime minister under former president Lee Myung-bak, has vowed to make Seoul a vibrant city. He snapped at the recent merger of the main opposition Democratic Party and independent lawmaker An Cheol-soo's political group.
The term new politics has been sullied by the main opposition bloc, which champions the breaking of old political practices. I think it's better to use the term upstanding politics.
Former two-term lawmaker Lee Hae-hoon also laid out her vision for Seoul.
Citizens want Seoul to become an economically vibrant city again. I will do that by making the capital a financial, medical, and tourist hub. I will also create more jobs and stabilize the real estate market.
It's widely thought any three of the Saenuri candidates would, if they won, use the 4-year mayoral term as a springboard to run in the 2017 presidential race. The ruling Saenuri party is expected to pick a single candidate to take on incumbent Park Won-sun by April 25th. Seoul citizens will have to wait until June 4th to decide whether they want more of the same or a new face in City Hall. Kim Young-gil, Arirang News.
And Korea has taken another step toward developing its first completely homegrown rocket slated for completion in 6 years. Korea's space agency and the science ministry announced Tuesday that ground combustion tests for what will be the third stage engine of its indigenous space launch vehicle were conducted successfully at a newly built test facility at the Naro Space Center in Goheung, Jeollanam-do Province. The 7-ton thrust engine passed 5 separate combustion tests designed to check both the fuel injection system and engine stability. Korea became the 13th country to launch a space rocket from its own soil in January last year when it launched the Naro rocket, whose first stage was built by Russian scientists.
2 cargo ships collided right outside of Tokyo Bay in the wee hours of the morning on this Tuesday. The Panama flag Beagle 3 collided with Korea's Pegasus Prime, causing it to sink. Now, 8 of the Beagle 3's 20 crew members, all of whom are Chinese, are still missing. All crew members of the Pegasus Prime are accounted for. Chinese embassy reports said 10 ships and a helicopter were deployed for search and rescue operations. Japan's Transportation Safety Board has dispatched 5 investigators to look into the cause of the accident. On a different note, it is official. The superhero team known as the Avengers is coming to Seoul. Marvel Productions and the city of Seoul signed an agreement on this Tuesday outlining the shooting schedule for Avengers: Age of Ultron in the Korean capital. Filming is scheduled for March 30th through April 14th, and a good portion of it will take place in the heart of Seoul's Gangnam-gu district, but will also extend to other parts of the capital. Now, the city is already coming up with measures to cope with inconveniences to the public, as areas will have to be shut down for several hours during shooting. Korean model turned actress Soo-hyun has been added to the cast of the blockbuster sequel as a scientist who helps protagonist Tony Stark, portrayed by Robert Downey Jr. Well, today was a nice warm day, although not perfect because of an unwanted visitor from China. So for a check on the weather forecast, let's go over to our Michelle Park at the Weather Center. Michelle.
Good evening, guys. And you're right, the weather itself was nice, but yellow dust in the atmosphere made it a little less nice.
Okay, Michelle, so how high were the levels and how long will it last?
Well, currently the levels are at 220 microgram per cubic meter, which is about 6 times higher than yesterday, and it looks like the high levels will worsen into the night along with the fog until tomorrow. So I suggest everyone to stay indoors if possible or wear a mask if you're heading outside. Now going over to Wednesday's conditions, we're expecting cloudy skies throughout the nation. Seoul tops out at 6 degrees in the morning and getting up to 14 in the afternoon. Meanwhile, the southern cities such as Daegu and Busan will peak up to 15 and 12 degrees. Now moving over to other regions, Jeju Island is expecting 15 degrees. Dokdo makes it up to 7, while Mount Kumgang tops at 2. Well, that's all for now. I'm Michelle Park and have a wonderful evening.
Thank you for that, Michelle. And that brings us to the end of our newscast. Thank you for watching. This has been Daniel Che.
And I'm Moon Go-young. Thank you as always for being here with us. We'll be back with more same time tomorrow. Good night.